second grade. And when I was in that class, they keep talking about like discovering like Christopher Columbus. They keep talking about that this guy was a hero. But keep growing up, I realized that killing too many people just like genocide. How can discover a world that already have people exist there? And then I say that we all know about Christopher Columbus. We all know about the genocide. We all know about the war between French, Spain, and England. We all know about the treaty between French and Spain to divide the island, and France take a piece and Spain take a piece, took a piece, and then we all know what France did. They set sail and go to Africa to get people. I'm not gonna say to get slave, like because like those people were very good people. They have family and they go to Africa, and then they go to Africa in a perspective like different country and different language, different cultures to make them like difficult to make things difficult for them to communicate, to talk, to have a revolution, and that's why we call that the transatlantic slave trade. And with more than 1 million Africans were shipped to what was called New World. And after they came to America and they keep going up, and then we have like more slave than colon. And they keep going to Africa, uh, take people and go to the colony. And what happened? They get panic, they get afraid. They say that we have to come up with something to control them. And then they introduced the Code Noir with Colbert, Jean-Baptiste Colbert introduced the Code Noir, and then France Kings Louis 14 passed the degree in 1685. And the purpose of the Code Noir was like to control the slave, to manage the slave, to make things that they are not human. They are like things like a phone, like a laptop that you can decide to sell, you can decide to say, okay, I don't need that anymore, I'm gonna give it to you, or I have to throw it away. This is the way they treated us, like like things. And it was there to prevent slave for taking to guns. Like you cannot have a guns, you cannot have a stick, you cannot have anything, just like work hard and make the colony like very rich, or make the metropole very rich. And as I said, like I gonna give you maybe 20 seconds to read those articles, and then you're gonna have an idea on how they treated us or how they treated people in this time. Okay, okay. I still feel corner, and as I said, I'm gonna talk first about does Cardinal still exist, because like we have, let's see how like we're gonna talk about the political system, we're gonna talk about the international aid, and then we are going to talk about the private sector in Haiti. Let's look at the way the political system shapes at Haiti. Let's look at how they make Haiti difficult.
Can you make it? Can you put it back on the homepage?
What? Let's look at the way they make Haiti like a very difficult country to live, and then like the majority like people say no, I'm not gonna stay here anymore. It's like there's no way, there's like no such thing for people to live there. And when you look at the international aids too, and then after the earthquake, we have been through a lot, the earthquake, the Machu, and they came here to help. And then like today, I remember like I read an article say that it was like 5 years ago, say that Haitian live with $2 per day, but today I'm gonna dare to say $1 per day, because we see that things get more difficult for people to live there. And then we got the private sector, and then they took or they take the advantage to get more rich and rich. And when I say that, and then the code noir, and then when you look at the human right, it's something that they write in a paper to say, okay, there's a bunch of articles like very like sweet things that when you see, you say, oh, things gonna change, like they more focus on equality, stuff like this. But when you look at the whole world, you see that something wrong is, there is something wrong happen. Like maybe they just write it, but it's not like perfect to see that, to say it works. But when you look at the code noir, they say that it's not here anymore. But the way you look at, when just look at Haiti right now, you see, oh, this kind of things still there. And when you say like, when I say that I still feel the code noir, it's like it's more about the punishment. And then when you look at the way they treat people in the past, it's kind of the same thing here right now in Haiti. And I'm trying to use those words like weapon, branding, public burning, mutilation that they use in the past, and then the way they use it now, the way they use it now. Like let's look at a weapon, and then I will use the system because I already talked about the political system, the international aids, and the private sector. And then when you say like, okay, they ask you to do everything, you go to school, and then you do everything that the system asks you to do, and you are weaponed by the system. And then it's kind of the same thing like in the past. And then like the majority of people in Haiti are weaponed by the system, and they left the country to go to DR, to US, to Europe. And then they say, you know what, I will never come back to this country. And then we have branding. Branding is like we have a like million Haitian, like they cannot go uh everywhere, or maybe, and then they say that as Haitian, when you go another country, they say that, oh, you're Haitian, you're from Haiti, the poorest country in the world. That's the branding that you have. Like it seems like being Haitian, it's like a curse right now. And then everywhere you go, even if you are a tourist, they consider you like you left because of the poverty. And then when you like look at the public burning, it's like million of Haitian people dreams of burning publicly. Like when they see that there is a bunch of NGOs like organization look at us, watching us burning, like only human right, the whole world, and then they are here. I don't know why, maybe to make things worse. And then you have the mutilate. mutilation, that the country has been mutilated, and you cannot, they prevent you like to travel. You cannot travel everywhere you go. Anytime you try to get travel, they ask you, they say, oh, you're gonna stay because like your country is the poorest country in the world, that you're not gonna come back. And how Haitian history changed my life. And this is like, I remember when I was a kid, and my mom and my father like have a kind of like light skin, and my mom, she's black, and me, I'm blacker than my mom. And then they gave me a name like uh Tinwe, that's mean like little Negro. And they keep calling me like this. They keep saying that because they love me, they take care of me, but calling me like this make me feel like, oh, my skin is not really good. Why they keep calling me Tinwe? And then that hurts inside. And then they didn't have time to realize that they didn't maybe like uh look at me in my eyes to see that I'm sad sometimes when they call me like this. And then go to school, it was kind of the same situation. And then that give me like a kind of uh, uh how can I say that? Like that's make me very difficult to develop. Like when I see people, and then I'm afraid that they're gonna judge me about my skin. And once I get to maybe ninth grade, and then we started to study about history. Like you started to understand stuff about what was happening and what your ancestor did to become like today the first republic in the world, like kicking French out and banish slave. And then when we understand that, I say, oh, that was very powerful. And that's make me proud. And that's make me say, oh, I don't care about what people say about my color. And then that's make me very, very proud about my skin. And that changed my life about the stereotype they have about black people. And how can use the Code Noir or the Haitian history to increase our self-esteem. And as I said, look at this man here. It's like Toussaint Louverture. He was very like brave and proud and very educated person. And then when we were about this person here, or about history as black, that's make you like feel proud. And I'm gonna use three words like that I feel like Toussaint Louverture has like did in the past. It's like institution, interaction, and interest. And when we look at the way Haitian people just bargain or maybe try to create institution in Haiti, you say, oh, maybe they don't know anything about these people. Maybe they don't know anything about like Toussaint Louverture or Dessalines. Why they don't have like the capacity to say, oh, this is the interest of my country. This is what I need. This is the bargain that we have to do to make our country uh, good and developed. And then we have to invest on education. It's the key to make to know more people, more people know about this history, more they get proud. And then I said that it's because like when I look at like the education system in Haiti, when you go to countryside, a bunch of people, they don't know about history. And then when you look at the way they talk about their skin, it's something like they consider it like it's a bad thing. It's like a problem they have. And then when they see like other people like having light skin or white people, they are very happy. But I feel like there is something that they have to know about these people. They have something, there is something they have to know about the history. And then I will say that they have to invest on education, that just like let them know about like history, let them know that they can do better if they go to school, if they know about those people. Okay. Kaigo song and lyrics. Kaigo song lyrics and various poems. It's but let me talk first about the Kaigo lyrics. And as I said, it's like a romantic song, but I do it like general. How can we use like what was happened in the past and today to have a better future? And I'm not here to blame like what were white people. I'm not here to blame like black people. Maybe if I have to, I will say I will blame all of us. And instead of like doing that, I have to think more about like how can we come together to resolve this kind of problems. Because when we look at the world, like when you say like Haiti is the poorest country in the world, it's like the world word is poor. When you say Haiti is poor, that's my opinion about it. Like saying Haiti is poor is like the world word is poor, because like we are on one planet. And then if something wrong happened to Haiti, make sure that's gonna affect the whole world. And then how we can come together to develop a world like people can live, people can say, okay, we banish the world of immigration. We have to say, okay, we are all tourists. We can go everywhere we want. If something wrong happen, because like the climate change, we never know what's gonna happen in the world. If something wrong happen to US, American can come to Haiti to have a better place to live. We can go everywhere we want if we create a world like with love and compassion for all of us. And then that's why I say like our hearts are like firestone. When they strike, we feel the love. Sparks will fly in that our burns. And when they strike, we line up the world. It's like about love. When we all understand that we have to work together, we're gonna line up the world. And to finish, and I'm just gonna read my poem. It's like let's exist together. That's been the idea since the beginning. Stop denying the status because it's a different color but the same blood. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So would people like to make comments or ask questions? You're really welcome to do that. It would be great.
I thought that was wonderful. It was really good to see you. I haven't seen you for a while. I think this would be a wonderful thing for people to Zoom you in for maybe Americans who don't have the opportunity to go to Haiti to hear your perspective, to help them understand another person's perspective and the struggles that you've gone through as Haitian and what you've experienced from your perspective. I could see a lot of people really wanting to hear what you have to say.
Nice.
And your English is great.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing to do that whole presentation in your second language. Pretty amazing. Or your third, actually, in the case of with Bury. Who else would like to say something or ask something? And also, if you're not visible and you're able to be, it would be nice, because it's really nice to have the presence of everybody. So if you're able to, I know some people aren't, you may be driving or something, but anyway, anybody else like to ask questions, make a comment?
I'd like to make a comment. I really appreciate your reference to how history is so important for young people to understand where they came from, therefore change the perspective of what they, their own self perspective of being Haitian. And I really liked your associations with the Code Noir, branding, mutilating, all that, with kind of things that are going on now. So I really appreciated those. And then I am doing a 5-session series on the history of Haiti, and Bury is coming to give his perspective. It's our last one, and he's going to come and just exactly that, because kids don't need to hear it from me. They need to hear from Bury. So thank you.
Where do you teach?
Yeah, hi.
Where do you teach?
Oh, actually, I'm associated with an organization called Locally Haiti, and we don't teach history normally. We are doing this series for French students who are trying to understand the role of France and French in the entire world. So they asked us to speak about Haiti. And so we did the history with the story that there is more than one story.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're really excited to have Bury
Oh, that's great.
be there.
Yeah, sorry.
Bury, I have a question for you. Thank you so much. And I know I think about my learning from you all the time when I think about how I am a teacher also. And I really appreciate, like, I'm not sure what your name is who just spoke, but I was just saying, like, the connection between history and present day. And you were talking about how you still feel Code Noir, but that also learning about your history really, like, made you feel more proud. And so I think about sometimes when we talk about students' histories in their own countries or history of race and racism and in the United States. And I think about that balance between seeing what has happened and how it still impacts today, what's both negative and what also inspires sources of pride. So I'd be curious to hear you talk about when you were in school and you were learning about the history that made you feel proud of yourself. Can you explain a little bit, like, how the negative history and the history that made you feel proud was taught together?
Mm-hmm.
Is that
Can you
a
say,
clear question?
like,
Yeah.
It's an interesting question.
negative story, like, because like they treat like they come up with slavery, stuff like that.
Yeah, like you're telling us, you're sort of, even in this discussion, you're presenting the Code Noir and the history of Toussaint at the same time, right? And saying that history made you feel proud of who
Yes,
you are and to be a dark-skinned Haitian, but at the same time, you still feel the impacts of the negative history. Yeah. So how to teach history in ways that feel real and inspire people to feel proud.
Yeah, that's a huge question.
I know.
And like because like I understand what it means to be like Haitian, and that can play a huge impact on you when you know what your ancestors have been through in the past, and then you say they were so brave to work the change, like, but physically, but not, we know like what happened mentally. And when you look at like a bunch of people, they don't understand it, and they can use it to make like our country great. They can use it to have a great impact in the world, but they maybe They don't care about what was happening, and they just use the same like kind of system like colonization or slavery or code noir to like make people suffer. And then those kind of things, they link together, but at the same time, if everyone understands it, they can use it to make the world like the Haiti better, a better country or a better place to live.
Yeah.
Someone else? Roger, I think you started to say something. Did you still want to?
Well, no, sorry. I was just interested in the ILC Haiti, just where that was happening. You're saying that you're teaching to French students about France and French history, and I'm wondering, where are you?
Sorry, that's confusing. ILC Haiti is actually a Haitian organization in innovative learning concepts. Actually, it's out of Boston.
Okay.
And I teach English for them to Haitians. And I forgot to change my Zooms to my personal Zoom.
Oh, that's all right.
I'm in Colorado, and I am involved with an organization called Locally Haiti.
Oh.
We work in rural Haiti. Actually, Bury's been out there with us many times. That's how we first met. In Petit-Denis, which is in Nîmes. And that organization is the one who offered this 5-session series on the history of Haiti. That is more than, just like Bury's saying, it's more than a single, or I think Rebecca's kind of brought this up too, more than a single story.
Yeah.
Some really negative things, but if you learn the whole, the whole spectrum, it's also, there's a lot to be proud of too.
Yeah. Now, thank you. Thanks. It's helpful. I think my comment is just how timely this is, because I think the question of how history speaks to us, not just in the United States for certain, in Haiti for certain, but everywhere, we are really thinking more specifically about what was the history? What did the history really say? And what does it say to us now? How can we make sense out of it in a world that is so tête chargée? It's so crazy right now. It's so angry. It's so polarized. And yet there are such positive images as well as such revisionist images, if you will, both at the same time. And we need these discussions. We need to look at what happened, what is happening, and what is happening now for people as they look at their history. So I'm just, Bury, I'm speaking rapidly now, but because I'm excited. And it's so important what you are doing and what we need to be doing, all of us together in our various constituencies now. Hey, Stefan, hi. Nice to talk to you and see you in person. Hey.
It was really interesting to me because Bury gave this presentation in Creole in one of our classes, our class that's connected with the field placements. And one of the things, I think, Bury, it was you that talked about it, not other students, saying that their experience was that if somebody did something good, they would say, oh, it's like blonde, it's like white. And if somebody did something bad, they would say, oh, it's like black. And I was saying, where are they getting that? Like, white people have not done a ton of good things in Haiti. Some to some extent, I guess so, but not with the broader history. And then the students were saying, well, that, that's part of the role of people in the field, like social work, to begin teaching a different way of perceiving things. And they were saying, well, they were talking almost like, and these are like students at our college, gee, it's too late for us, but we need to teach younger people. And I'm thinking, no, it's not too late for you to rethink, you know, that you took on this as a negative identity. It's not too late at all. And it's not too late for people you work with who are adults. And it's great, you know, for that kind of teaching to start happening with children. That would be really important, I think.
Hey,
I wanted to say something if you
Yeah,
allow
yeah.
me. Can I go? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course.
Oh, okay. So I wanted to ask very like how can we link this history like from where we are right now? So I'm by that I'm saying that as Haitians, sometimes I'm not feeling, yeah, I felt proud for the past, but nowadays I feel like the ancestor, they have done their parts. And I feel like the situation that we are living nowadays in Haiti, the ancestor will not be proud of us. So how can us in like teaching history can help the new generation to understand that we can be proud of history, but what can we do to keep this feeling like in our action too? So that's why I don't know if you said that or if you talked about that already, but that's why sometimes I don't really feel proud about history because I don't think that we did anything to keep these if or efforts that the ancestors have done, like all these sacrifice they have done for us as Haitians. Thank you.
Uh, that's they keep asking me this question all the time,
Mhm.
like especially Haitian.
Yeah, that's right.
And I, it's there's three things that I said about it. It's first one is like individually, it's like something that me, it changes my life, changes my perception of as black. You see, and I think that came from like an education that we have at school, and then I understand the way they talk about it, and then I took it like something like something that can make me a don't care about what people say. And secondly, I talk about like uh, what like the way that the political system use it right now. It's like for me, I say I was in school and they were in school too. Why I feel like the history makes something on me like very it's changed it changes my life. But why people like for example, let's say the president, like people work in the government, they like this private sector too, like because like they are Haitian too. Some of them are Haitian, real Haitian. And I say why they don't take advantage on that to develop the country. What happened? Maybe they feel better like if there's problem though in Haiti they can make more money, or maybe they don't care because like the way they shape the uh, political system here, it's like they see the fact like for example the family, they can go in US with the family and then they can travel all over the world, they can get like they can have a place like in US, another country to stay, but they don't care about the Haiti. I say where this comes from. And when you say that, how can we like teach or help other people know about that? Babies like that's make you feel that you're not proud. It's because there is a problem. The problem is like me, like you, because like the problem is like we have to understand, we have to be aware about what happened right now to say, okay, these people like this ancestor were there fought for us and then today we are free. Like when I say free, we can just make an impact with our voice to let people know about it. What we can do, as I said, like invest on education. We can like maybe like try to change the system and try to make an impact with especially on kids, because like the problem is like if we don't teach them like this is the way things were, this is the way thing is, and this is like this is teach them about the future too, and then that's gonna make an impact on them because when I was kid, the only thing I see is like, oh, these things like white people do this thing. Like this country is very beautiful. This country is that I want to travel. This is the kind of word that I heard when I was kid, or when I was a kid. The word like the my favorite word is like to leave Haiti, to travel all over the world, not to think about Haiti, you see. But we have to teach like the next generation how to develop our country. And one thing too about education is to teach them critical thinking
Mm,
and to teach them to creativity. That's very important because like most of the time they teach us to work with people. They teach us to use Excel, but they don't teach us to create Excel. You see, they teach us to drive a car, they don't teach us to make a car. You
mm,
see, the creativity is very important, mathematics is very important, and how they can use it to make impact on the world. And then I think we have to invest on education.
mm.
That's the that's my opinion about it.
Good.
You agree?
Yes. Stefano, do you want to add anything or say anything? What do you think?
Yeah, I have a lot to say, so you might start. So, but I just gonna be brief. So I think that sometimes we want the world, or we want other people to see us as the first Black independent country, instead of like proving ourselves, or how can I say, I will say that do something to change the world, or instead of like saying with the past that we had and keep like still teaching people the same black independent country. I know it's good to let people know about us, but what I think also it is important to give an image as the Black independent country, not staying in the past, in the history, but try to move on. Like when I say move on like in action, positive action, and sharing positive vibe, like our culture, our arts. And I think as Haitian, we have a lot to show the world. And I think we have a lot to teach the world about us in our action, in our culture, about arts and everything. And I think we still have good things, but I think we need to move. We have a lot to do. We have a lot of effort to do. And we really, me, Bury, and all the other, this generation, and as social worker also, I think we have a lot to do to help this coming generation. I think we have a lot of work.
Great talk. Sure.
Yeah. So would
And
anyone else?
one thing I would to add to about that is like um telling this story too. It's not we stuck or maybe we just like keep talking about the story, because like I have this problem too when I see people just keep talking about his story to say they are first like people like Black people, independent countries, black blah blah blah. And but when look at us today, it's like, oh, where are we? Just we have to, as you said, we have to move on. We have to do something, and because like it's very very important for me when I say like invest on education is the only thing, because like what we have in Haiti right now, I will tell you, it's not education. It's not education. It's something that they give you, they teach you how to read, but it's not education. And then I and then if we invest on education, I think things gonna be great. Thank you, Stefana, for this. It's very important.
So would anyone like to add anything? It looks like Valdez is there too. Would you like to add anything?
Yes, I connect just to make a comment because I was there
Okay. All right.
listening to the entire presentation on like Stefana's phone, and I had to go to an email address to forward the links to me because I did not have it.
Yeah.
So I think that the Code Noir is something that we should, yeah, I don't know. I've been talking with Bury today about that presentation. The Code Noir is something very special in our history. And there is that section in Bury's presentation where he kind of compared some specific, how can I say that, key, like some specific characteristic of the Code Noir that that's still there haunting our life. For example, there is what Dr. Miranda just said about whenever someone did something great. For example, a nation did something great. They said, yo, you are white, man. You did something, you are a blanc because you did something extraordinary. And there is also those people we used to call a bourreau in the past. There is the slave and there is someone that is there to whip the slave whenever that person is not working on the field. We still have people here actually in our society that act as bourreau whenever, like, that put pressure on us to do stuff as if we were still in the slavery like era. So I think that we still have to fight for our independence. I still think that deep inside we are still not free, like mentally. I think that there is some sort of sign of mental slavery. I don't know if it's due to a lack of charisma. I don't know if it's due to a lack of self-esteem, but that proud, as Stefana just stated, that story that we have, it seems that we don't really, I don't know how we can explain. I don't know how people like us with such a story are now living in such situation. I don't know how to explain that, but it seems that there is still, we need to still fight for us to be free, for us to live our life without any constraint, like color constraint or thought constraint. We still need to fight about our independence. And I think that this piece of presentation, like that subject called Noir, the fact that I've listened to Bury twice, like the first time and again today, it kind of made me think about a lot of things. And as a social worker, I think that we have to do a lot of advocacy. We will have to, there is that expression, I don't know if it's also an English expression, we have a lot in our plate.
A lot on our plate. Yeah, we've got that.
Yeah.
A lot on
And
our
again, thank you, Bury. It's a great subject. It's
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have word to explain that specific part of our story, the Code Noir, how it is shaped in the past and how it is powerful and it is still haunting. It is still there. It's still there. We need to let people know what is freedom means, like freedom, what we mean when we said freedom. And yeah, it's a lot. Again, thank you, Bury.
Thank you.
So is there anyone else? It's a really great conversation. Anyone else? This is about 8, but yeah, Rebecca, go ahead.
Something I'm thinking about is Bury, like your final slide here that's talking about sort of like the connectivity of different people. And I think I'm thinking about sort of how like these histories we often talk about, like sort of these negative histories or the histories that make us proud, and think of those as sort of being like one country's history, and just thinking about when we teach history in connectivity, right? Like I saw something recently that was talking about how in the US, often we talk about history in the passive voice, like people were enslaved or people were discriminated against, but we don't talk about like who's doing those things. And that sometimes we remove the role of people in power who are harming and sort of just speak to one thing. And thinking about the history of Haiti, it's very much the history of the world, right? We have the rest of the world iced out Haiti when you gained independence, right? And that is resulting in a lot of what Haiti has experienced, what's on the plate, right? But it's really like not only put there by one country, or, you know, so thinking about these things about how much Haiti has on its plate, or what it looks like currently versus like the pride in the ancestors, and just thinking about how we speak to how the whole world influences each other, and where those responsibilities lie and where different people set in, I think makes me think about like where there's still pride in a lot of that too, of like how hard the world tried to stop Haiti from being an example of freedom. And yet still, like Stefani, you said, like there's so much art and culture that maybe would have never existed had that freedom not been fought for and won. And so just thinking about present day victories being a result of older victories, and thinking about the roles of other countries in the things that are on that plate that you're talking about, Vildenz. Hi, Vildenz, it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah. And it's so nice to hear all of your thoughts. I miss hearing those more regularly, so it's great.
Thank you.
All right, so I guess maybe this is a good stopping point. And speaking of the art and culture, I'm going to put into the chat how to get to our art auction, because this is a really, I mean, what our school is about is conversations like this that then move people to action, and move people to action that really makes sense in the culture and makes sense for the work they're trying to do. That's what the school is about. And so, you know, if you'd like to see some of the art, that's at the art auction. If you would like to bid or donate or support, that would be great. So I'm just going to put it right in here, www.biddingowl.com/education Haiti, all written together. Let me put that in there. And it's really nice that you all came, and it's great to see the people that we know and meet the people that we didn't know before. So thank you.
Bury, folk ou continue écrit poésie ou.
Oui.
OK? Parce que ça, c'est important aussi.
Oui, m'a continué.
Bien.
All right.
Okay.
Bonsoir tout le monde.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Oh, merci en pile.
Ok, merci en pile.
Merci en pile.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye.
Bye.